Boom! Evening, everybody. This is John Oliphant, and this is Practical Chrome. The last episode. Gentlemen, welcome to the last episode of Practical Chrome. Of course, Craig Tumblison and James Welbes. Gentlemen, good evening to you both.
Good evening, John.
Cool, cool. This is the last episode, labeled Tomorrow. It will be today, which is hilarious. And because we are going to be starting up the new show next week called Chromebooks Today. Next week over at Chromebooks.today. Check it out. Check out the YouTube channel. Check them out on G+. And it'll be an experience even better than this one, just in this smaller package. I like the big package, gentlemen. I do. So, but, you know, what can you do? Today's show, all kinds of good stuff, a lot of news, a lot of Chromebook stuff, a lot of Chrome OS stuff. So let's get to it. I'm going to get the giggles.
Oh, boy. For anyone wondering, this is why we weren't renewed for another season.
It's a live show.
Unanimous vote from everyone involved.
That's why. That's why when Brian Williams was let go, I tried to get the job, but they wouldn't take me. So what can you do? All right. So guys, let's jump into the news in the Chrome world, right? This is Chromebook. This is Practical Chrome, not Chromebooks Today, not yet. A lot of cool things. First of all, official. Now I didn't. James, you pinged me on this, and I didn't even know. Was there an extension before? The official Google Calendar Chrome extension makes date with material design, and that's the headline from OMG Chrome. Was there an extension before that I was missing out
on? It depends on your definition of missing out on. There was a Chrome extension for a calendar, and I was curious about the same thing, so I Googled it, and I did find a screenshot of a very not material designy calendar extension for Chrome. So I'm pretty sure that the extension existed already and just now has been given a material design makeover.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know about it. Craig, were you using it before?
I was not, but Joey does note in the article that the original version has been available since 2007.
You read that?
What?
I did.
You read?
It's one of my many skills.
Sweet.
I don't like to brag about it.
I just do a search for my name, and if it doesn't show up, I don't read it.
That's true. If it's not about me.
Right?
So 2007, holy cow. Wow. I guess that just shows to you how much I don't use Google Calendar. Because I don't really...
Is that why we're late every night?
I'm sorry, what?
Is that why we're late every Tuesday?
No, I'm late because I don't wear a watch. I don't have a Moto 360 like Craig does. I'm trying to think of what I put on my Craig, real quick, just really quickly. Do you use Google Calendar? Because I know that you've got classes, you've got other schedules, tutoring, things like that. Do you keep a Google Calendar like really up to date? Like that's where you put all your calendar stuff?
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool. So, but you've never used that extension?
I don't use the extension because I do have the Moto 360, so they show up on my wrist, and then they show up on my phone. So they're everywhere I need them to be now.
That should be the tagline. Google Calendar. Everywhere it needs to be now. Like that. That's hot. James, do you use Google Calendar like on the regular?
I do. I've used it for collaborating efforts. When I sold life insurance, I actually enlisted my mom to be my secretary and make appointments for me, calling people and whatnot. And so she would add the appointment to the calendar, which then obviously would update on my phone and everything. So that worked out really well. And I also use it for personal stuff. I doctor's appointments and things like that that I need to remember.
I'm down. You'll have to excuse me, I clear my throat a lot. I use Outlook all the time just because I have it on my phone for work, so I just put everything on there because that's like the one calendar. They do have really sweet integration on Google Calendar though on Android. It allows you to kind of meld them all together, but Outlook's the one that's in front of me all day, right? So it's just kind of, but that's interesting. So I'll have to check out the extension. That looks pretty cool. So definitely check out omgchrome.com. Check out the article. It's out there. Shows you a good write-up. Obviously, you got the dates when we're just here, tennis balling questions at each other that are in the article itself. Thanks for reading it, Craig. Next up on the list was the cloud backup enabled in the latest Chrome OS Dev build. Now, isn't that just the coolest? Craig, you've been talking about this API since Chrome was just a wee babe. To allow people to do this. Do you have one on the dev channel and you're like, I'm gonna get this done?
This is a new feature, but it does not use the new API that you're thinking of. It doesn't mount a new storage device. It's actually built into the Files app. And basically the idea here is when you plug in a removable storage device, whether it's a flash drive, a camera card, or even a cell phone that you plug in by USB, it'll scan that device for a folder containing pictures and then upload those pictures automatically to Google Drive if you choose. So it's mostly a photo backup service. It's called Cloud Backup, but right now it only handles photos, or at least only handles photos automatically. And it's important to note that they're actually uploaded to Google Drive, not Google+. The Google Plus Photos app will upload your photos automatically to Google Plus if you enable it. But for consumer accounts, you can view Google Drive photos that you have stored in Google Plus Photos. It's far more complicated than it needs to be. Truly. They need to do some sort of back-end merge and just make it extremely straightforward. But obviously that hasn't happened yet. This feature, as of now, seems kind of neutered to me. I feel like it could do more. I would like, for example, the ability to plug in an external hard drive and just tell Chrome to sync everything. Just take that hard drive, put a copy of every file up in the cloud, keep it in sync for me. If I put a new file, if I download a file and put it on the external drive, copy it to the cloud too. I think that's really the feature that a lot of small businesses and individuals are looking for in terms of backing up their files automatically built into the file manager.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I don't know. I don't see that happening. I don't know why. Because it's like that's too it's almost like that's like too much data. Like that, you know what I mean? Like, because people walk around. I've got like 250 gig worth of data sitting on one of my drives. If you don't make it very intuitive, you're going to end up with all 200, trying to load too much, and if you only get 15 free or 20 free or whatever it is, then you're kind of like, whoops. Or then they might have just whole OS images up there and stuff like that they're going to then try to figure out. I don't know. James, I don't know if you're down with the whole backup thing, but I know you're down with the new SFTP app.
I am down with that SFTP app.
Are you down? Can you kind of explain what? Because you've been kind of talking about that for a while. You've also done a couple of write-ups on a couple of different apps that do FTP for Chrome OS. I know that's kind of something that you've been looking for a while, and this one actually integrates into the file manager.
Yeah. There has been an app around for a while called SFTP Client, and it looks and feels pretty much just like FileZilla. Problem is, it does cost a couple bucks, and it's actually been a little buggy for me for some reason. Just weird things when you're trying to move files from one folder to another. And I moved files into a completely empty folder I just created, and it tells me that these files already exist and wants to know if I want to overwrite them. Just weird things like what's going on. So it is refreshing to see another SFTP option for Chromebooks. This one's called, I think it's just called SFTP Manager or something. The icon is a black or really, really dark blue type folder icon. And it's really cool because it integrates into your Files app. So you open that app just once to set it up. After that, you just open your Files app. And on the left-hand side, you'll see Google Drive as usual, Downloads as usual, any external drives as usual, but you'll also see your server that you connected to via SFTP. So it's actually really cool, and so far I haven't found any bugs. The only bug, so to speak, I found, I believe, is the Files app's fault, where if I'm in my server and I'm a few folders deep, and I get into the folder I want, and then I click over to Downloads folder again, or Google Drive, and then come back to the server, it dumps me all the way back to root, which is somewhat annoying, but I don't think that's the app's fault. I think that's the Files app's doing. But you can grab a file from your Downloads folder or Google Drive and hover over your server like you normally would for a couple seconds. It'll open it up. Hover over the next folder, it'll open up, and so on, and drop files wherever you need them on your server, or pull files off your server. And it's worked great. I haven't had any weird bugs like I did with that with the paid app, and this one's completely free. So I give it 2 thumbs up.
Craig, have you had a chance to use it?
You know I haven't. We discussed this before the show.
Yes. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to chime in there on that one.
I appreciate that. Thank you. James, I do have a question about it. Can you add multiple servers, or are you limited to one?
That's a great question. I actually just acquired another FTP-able server, so I could actually test that out. I'll do that, and then we can leave a little note in the show notes or something, because I haven't tried to do 2 accounts yet.
Hey, Craig, if you look at the, I don't know if you can mount more than one at a time, but I know that in the image on the site, it does show that they have 2 in the thing that's like you can choose which one you want to mount. And they're showing 2 separate ones that you've got saved. So I'm not sure if you can do 2 at once, but you definitely have more than one saved. I don't know if you can see that, but on the if you go to the app in the Chrome Web Store.
I will say. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, James.
One thing that I noticed, and I verified, so to speak, with one other person, if a 2-person case can be called verified, that you can't use the domain like you normally would. Like with FileZilla, you can use a domain name that points to the IP address of your server. I tried it and it didn't work, and I used the IP address and it did work, and some other guy had the same experience. So if you're trying to connect and it's not working, just go to what'smydns.net, type your domain in, and it'll tell you what the IP address is, and then it should work just fine after that.
Interesting, and that's funny because in the screenshot they actually show using a URL, so that's interesting. Now the URL that they use, well, no. Yeah, they show a URL. Well, interesting. All right, well, we'll have to check that out. I honestly don't. I don't have an FTP server to talk to. It's kind of sad. But
Sad.
I know. My life's getting smaller and smaller. What can you do? I used to have a couple. Now my life is empty. Archos announces Chromebook for France's Grand Digital for School project. I did not. Grand Digital for Schools project. Archos announces. The sentence itself is kind of throwing me a little bit. I'd have to read the article, which obviously I have. This is something that Craig put in there. Craig, why don't you enlighten us while James and I use that awesome ability of reading?
Sounds good, John. You're an inspiration to children everywhere. Archos is a French company known for making cheap and affordable Android tablets and smartphones.
Oh, yeah, they do make junk. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, my first Android device was actually one of their small little internet tablets about the same size as a phone, It worked pretty well considering the hardware limitations, but it was also relatively inexpensive. And they've stuck with Android since. In this case, they are launching a series of computers, one of which is a Chromebook. It's an 11-inch model. They're claiming battery life is above 8 hours. It will run Chrome OS, obviously. And the pricing is going to be about $283. What's interesting is that it will have 2 gigs of RAM, which is pretty standard, but a 64 gigabyte solid-state drive. That's a lot more storage than we're used to on most Chromebooks. So the price is okay. It does seem to be based on the Intel reference design, so it's not going to be as rugged looking as some of Lenovo's models. But I don't know that this is going to be available to everyday consumers. I think it really is truly targeted at education, and specifically education within France and some of their recent reforms. So I think Archos has kind of locked in the market there. I'm not sure whether schools will get to pick between the devices. There's a 9-inch Windows tablet, a 10-inch Android tablet, a Chromebook that's 11 inches, and a 14-inch Windows notebook to choose from, so they've got 4 offerings. I'm not sure if schools get to pick or if even students get to pick, but it does seem to be part of a larger push by the France government.
Did you notice that that 64 gigabyte size actually goes across all 3 of the Android Chrome products? So even the 9 and the 10-inch tablets have 64 gigs of storage and the 2 gig RAM. That's
yes, I suspect it may have something to do with minimum requirements for hardware. If you're the size of a government and you're going to say we're going to implement technology, you get to set some basic requirements there and say every device needs to at least be able to do this or store this much data, or I don't know, have 8 hours or more of battery life, as all 4 devices claim to have. So I suspect it may have something to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I mean, you're looking at, if it's the Intel quad core, so that's probably the Bay Trail then.
It could be. It doesn't specify. But if we had to guess, probably. Well, it uses the reference design, so I think that was the Bay Trail chip.
Okay. I love it. I love it. I'm reading. I'm like, oh, cool, and cool, and neat. And I'm seeing the same things Craig sees, and I'm like, oh, cool. Blah, blah, blah. And then it says source, Archos, and Craig Tumblison. Yeah. Craig, you're everywhere.
I try.
You're everywhere. You're like a warm blanket. I go on the internet and I'm just covered in Craig. Everywhere.
I've been called worse.
Sounds more like a wet blanket.
All right. Well, thanks, Craig. And actually, I mean, that it appeals to me in a couple different for a couple different reasons. Looking at the that table there, it seems to me like literally they could possibly take a lot of the same components and then mass manufacture and really like kind of like, I don't know how good the quality is going to be or how, whatever, but they could really kind of slam all this stuff together on one board. I mean, the Android and the Chrome OS are pretty much the same. The Windows 8 Pro, sorry you did that, but that's probably going to work really well. I mean, it seems like it's a really good idea. So I think it's kind of exciting. So I'd love to see it. Hopefully we'll get one in the States or so we can take a look at it. Next up. So next up is a story that I'd like to touch on in the next segment. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to go back and go into the main topics, jump out of the news for a second, just hop right on out, take off your news hat, put on your main hat, and thanks, James. Wait, James needs to find his main hat.
I didn't bring my main hat.
Oh, shoot. So, Let's start off with the fact that Google says a Chromebook Pixel 2 will go on sale soon. Now, what I love about this article is the fact that there's a lot of soon, like things like the word soon. There's a lot of hidden bugs that are released. There's a lot of there's still a lot of up in the airness, I would say, out of some of these things. Like the video that Joey found is no longer private. I mean, it's no longer available for the public to see it. Stuff like that. So everyone's so excited about a Chromebook Pixel, and they're going to do it. And I think there's been some confirmation on things like the new oh poop, I hit the button, hit me too. There's been talk about using the new USB Type-C USB ports, the reversible, all fancy, awesome stuff. But then there's still some mites though for like powerful features like the new Intel Skylake processor or things like that. And then they hit us with, what do they hit us with, Craig? What's the one thing that you're like, ooh, because what are they going to do?
They hit us with a brand new USB 3.1 cable that can be used for charging, John.
No, they didn't. What they did is that they said that it's going to be in the same chassis, right, which is totally understandable, and the same screen. I mean, who would not love that? I mean, not the exact same screen, but they're going for the same kind of feature set as the original one, but just more under the hood stuff. But the quote is, and this is from the article from Joy at OMG Chrome, and Google's Renee Naimi, he's quoted as saying, "We do have a new Pixel coming out, and it will be coming out soon. We will be selling it, but I just have to set your expectations. This is a development platform. This is really a proof of concept. We don't make very many of these. We really don't. And our developers and our Googlers consume 85% of what we produce. But yes, we do have a new Pixel coming out." So my question to you, Craig, just because you're the knower of things, is was the original Pixel build the same? I mean, when I say build, was it marketed in the same type of fashion where they were like, here's this sweet stainless steel Chromebook that's like super spec'd out, it's $1,500. We don't expect to make that many of them, but here it is. And they didn't say that build too many of them apart. Is this them saying, listen, don't go crazy, don't buy this Chromebook,
No.
but buy a $200 Chromebook because we're not making many of these. These are for Googlers.
No, that's not the takeaway here at all. If we remember back to the original Pixel release, Google didn't just go to the press with it. They invited the press in. They sat down with the press. They explained it was a reference model. It was not supposed to target the mass consumer base. It was not a MacBook competitor. It was a reference design. It was intended, at the price point it had, to show other manufacturers that this is what a Chromebook could be if you wanted to design for the high end. We've seen some of those features be snuck into other devices since. We're seeing high HD screen shipping in some of the Toshiba Chromebooks and Acer Chromebooks now. Not quite 4K resolution, but we're getting closer. We have not seen a backlit keyboard yet, but we did see a couple additional light bars. One of the new Dell models for education has a indicator light on the lid that teachers can use to take polling in class. So we're seeing manufacturers get a little more creative, and 2 years later, it's probably time for another reference model. Something for Google to set out and say, hey, we support all these cool new things. If you want to incorporate some of them into your designs, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, Google's not looking to sell this to the average consumer. The average consumer will be just as happy with a $200 Chromebook as they would be with a $1,400 Chromebook. For those of us that are unaverage, we're going to go broke, John.
That's right. Craig, can you tell me that? I mean, a lot of people don't keep up with the tech news the way that we do. What's special about Type-C that you brought it up immediately?
Well, this was not confirmed at the conference, but it has been all but confirmed in commit logs and changes to the tracker. So we are probably 98% confident at this point that the new version will contain USB 3.1. The primary benefit is that it is reversible, which means that there's no more fiddling around. But the bigger benefit for most people is going to kick in a few years from now. Because USB 3.1 is a standard, you can expect to see cell phones using it, just like Android devices use micro USB now, and you can expect to see a lot of other devices start to use it too. It's built to be a modern cable. It has video output built in as well. It actually uses DisplayPort for that. So this is kind of an all-in-one cable. They can also be hot linked together, so you can have multiple devices charging from a single plug in the wall. Very handy stuff. And there's rumors that the next MacBook may only feature a single port, being 3.1, and then allowing you to kind of daisy chain for plugging in flash drives and things like that. So it's very high power. It can carry a lot of electricity, which benefits charging. And it's reversible, John. It's reversible. You can plug it in the dark.
Because that's all I do.
It should be all you do. You can't tell me you've never once struggled to plug in a USB cable in the dark.
I can't say no to that, but I can say that my Moto 3, not my Moto 360. Who am I, Craig? My Moto X, the USB mini micro cable or whatever it is has a beveled what do you want to call it? I don't know. It's got a swoop to it, so I can feel which way it is, and then I just plug it in. So it's just a well-designed connector on that one. But I know exactly what you mean. We've got you've got Lenovo creating that scary power adapter that was the same size as USB. So I'm kind of like a little bit leery. I don't know why. I know that USB is, it's the de facto bomb, right? So it's the best, and it's getting better. And then you've got these ones like the Lightning that you can swip it around. James, to you, we've always talked about the high-end Chromebooks and what you're looking for in a Chromebook. You talk about the backlit keyboard. You talk about the high-end features, the screens, all that good stuff. What your perfect Chromebook is. What are you looking for in the Chromebook Pixel 2? And what price range would James Welbes say the brand new Chromebook Pixel 2 is coming out and I'm buying it? What is that price range?
Whatever the price of a current i3 model is.
So you're saying like 400?
I probably wouldn't pay that much. My Chromebox only costs $360.
But that's a Chromebox. That doesn't have a 1080p screen and a backlit keyboard and a what?
I don't need a 1080p screen.
But
you asked me what I would pay for a Pixel 2. I would pay
Craig,
maybe $400.
Is he not being realistic? He's not being realistic.
He's not the person that the Pixel is designed for. So it's irrelevant what you would pay for it.
What?
Realistically, the Pixel is going to appeal to those that are willing to spend the extra money for the specific value items that they favor, like a backlit keyboard or a 4K display. I know people that have paid the $1,200 to $1,400 for the Pixel. I didn't, but they love it. They love it to death, and for them it was worth the extra money. Some of them are professional writers, so being able to see your keyboard in the dark is important, especially when you're up against a deadline and it's 4 in the morning and you don't want to turn on the lights on because you've got family asleep or whatever. For other people, just the display is all they care about in a Chromebook or any laptop. and it was cheaper than a MacBook with the Retina display. So that's the one they went with. But yeah, the average person, it's not going to work out. But I am looking forward to seeing some of the features trickle down into the other devices. I would love to see some more Chromebooks with USB 3.1. I would hope to continue to see some Chromebooks adopting 1080p. And, you know, backlit keyboard would be good on any price device, to be honest.
Yeah, I think
Amen.
the backlit keyboard, James, we've brought it up a couple times. It seems like the easiest thing to add to a friggin' computer. But
Yeah, I think they're all too busy trying to cram speakers underneath there to worry about putting lights.
that's a good point.
Because audio is very important on a portable $200 laptop, John. There's those audiophiles out there who need that amazing audio on their $200 laptop.
I wonder if on the original Pixel you could write a script that would flash the backlit keyboard lights in conjunction with the music coming from the keyboard speakers, like a Christmas light show.
Like that free run game. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Because I know you can tinker with the light bar.
Oh, listen, I cannot say this enough. That free run game is awesome.
Oh, man.
What's
We
that?
gotta go on that again.
I'm gonna get on that again. I am, and then, oh man. Anyway, okay. So that's the deal, right? The Chromebook Pixel 2 coming out. It's going to be a developer's type model. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be more of like this is what it can be, but it's going to have some pretty advanced features. To this day, Craig mentioned the Toshibas have the high-end screens, and Chrome OS doesn't look all that super great, right? And I know that I heard recently that on someone that has a 4K screen, Chrome browser doesn't look all that great in 4K yet, right?
Well, not quite. Google did do extra work when it came to optimizing the 4K display for the Pixel. So many of the UI elements are crisp perfect. But as a follow-up to last week when I said that exact same thing, we did have a listener, who shall remain nameless, point out that there is one specific area in the UI where a 4K display does not render correctly. And that's when you go to recover. When you plug in a recovery device, the UI doesn't scale up, so it's very, very tiny.
That's hilarious.
It is.
Whoops. Well, there you go. So I would say that this model is just like the first one, right? Like Craig said, if someone wants this really sweet piece of hardware, it's some advanced technologies, and it's going to be a lot of money, and because you want to be there first, and you want the highest end piece of equipment you can get with Chrome OS on it that's supported by Google, this is going to be the device for you. If you're definitely like someone that might buy, like a watch, that talks to them the first model run, you might be that person, right? So I say it's a good thing. It's not going to be for me because it is too expensive, but what can you do? Next up, after the Pixel 2, it's a good segue because the fact that I have a question for the panel, as usual. My question is this. If you haven't read the article, I'd like everyone to head over to this article. It's over on OMG Chrome, and it's called "The Chrome OS App Launcher Icon Will Soon Look Like This." And the "this" is a square icon with a black transparentness to it, and it's a search magnifying glass, right? In a material design-esque type look to it. It's just simply a magnifying glass, right? And that's going to be the new launcher in Chrome OS. I don't know what it's going to look like on your Windows machine or on your Mac machine for the launcher. I don't know if the launcher inside of the new tab page will still be the same 9 square app grid thing. I don't know if this is just Chrome OS specific. And I've read the article, but I don't remember him talking about that. I don't think he did. But So here's really my question, though, right? Because you can change your search provider, obviously, right? That's always been a feature available, that you can go ahead and change your search provider. But to me, this has this whole like vein of the Google's thing is search, right? So. And yes, it's the Google Chrome browser, and yes, this is the Chrome OS, right? But the point is that Microsoft has already gone toe to toe with the legal system, and the fact that they try to force IE down people's throats. You can't have IE on a Chromebook. You can't have Firefox on a Chromebook. The new launcher will be a search bar launcher, which, as much as I've always thought that search will be like the big thing that you do. Like, if you have to you'll be good at searching. You know what I mean? Like, that'll be something that you have to become good at, is being able to use the right keywords to search for something to get the right search results faster. You know what I mean? Like, that'll become a thing. I don't know, but I've always thought that being able to Google something and do it correctly is going to become a skill. And or just searching online for something. So I understand that the search icon might become not necessarily attached to Google itself. And I can see that in the Chrome OS, you could say, oh, no, that's just the search button, and it'll launch the launcher, and you could be searching on whatever search engine you chose, Yahoo, Bing, DuckDuckGo, whatever you wanted. That would be the search engine, and it would only scan your system, like your documents and your apps, because that's what's installed in your Chromebook, right? They can say that stuff. But my question, after saying all this in this weird diatribe about searching and stuff like that, is Google coming to a fine line where you're now buying a product, whether it be a Chromebox or a Chromebook, and it has this operating system on it that is truly 100% integrated with the Google ecosystem, Google Shopping, Google Music, Google Play, Google Web Store, Chrome this, Chrome that, right? And even the app launcher is a search symbol, which is like Google, right? So like you're going to Google. It's all Google, 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 Google. So my question is, in the eyes of the public, where is the line between Google and Chrome OS? Is Chrome OS and or Chromebooks like a Google product and you can't get away from Google at all, or is it a fully open source OS that we talk about sometimes? And really, what is the perception in the public, and is it correct? So, Craig, I'll start with you with this incredibly loaded. We have lots of time. We literally have like 15 minutes. so to get to that nice hour mark of a nice package, right? So, what say you, Mr. Tumblison?
Well, I think the public perception is that when you buy a Chromebook, you buy a Google laptop. I've heard people call them Google laptops. And I think the assumption that includes is that you're primarily going to use it to do Google things. Now, that doesn't imply that you can't get to Facebook because Google owns Google+, or that you can't use Spotify because Google has their own music service, or that you can't use Vimeo because Google has YouTube. But the integration can only really happen with Google products and services. It's the same thing we see with Apple and their top-down approach. Frankly speaking, apps work better when you own the app and the product and the hardware and the software, and you have the ability to yell at project managers and say, hey, fix this flaw. It works better that way. I'm not on the same... I don't have the same concern as you do when it comes to wrapping search into it. I just tested to confirm if you switch your search engine, it switches it in the launcher too. So if you decide that you want to turn your Chromebook into a Bing book, easy to do. There's even an app that will let you pull down the Bing wallpaper of the day to set as your Chrome OS wallpaper. And they actually just approved the wallpaper API to go stable in milestone 43, so that app will be available for everyone in a few weeks. Possibly closer to like 6. So yeah, you could turn your Chromebook into a Bing book fairly easily, and you can avoid Google services fairly easily. You're right that you can't install Firefox yet, but there's nothing stopping Firefox from wrapping their own skin around a web view and launching their own app, which is exactly what Google has to do on iOS, because Apple doesn't let the Chrome rendering engine install. Instead, Chrome and every other browser for iOS is just packaged around a web view. So on iOS, you have the same problem. Google doesn't get to ship their own rendering engine. They can only ship a skin, a design, and a couple custom features on top of that, like sync. So there's nothing stopping Microsoft from building Internet Explorer as a skin around a web view for Chrome OS. There's nothing stopping Firefox from doing the same, and at some point, sooner or later, Opera will probably give it a try. That seems to be what they do these days. So I don't think that there's anything inherently anti-competitive, because the opportunities are still there. Just because companies aren't making use of it doesn't diminish that the opportunities are still there. I get worried when a company takes away the opportunity. That's when I get concerned, but I'm not seeing that happen. Google has pretty solid working arrangements with the Microsoft team. In fact, I actually just saw a commit recently where they updated the Bing search provider to allow Microsoft to detect where you live to serve you like Bing US or Bing UK. And they also switched to using SSL by default for your searches. So all of your searches, even if they're done through the launcher, if you have it set to Bing, are secured in transit. So as long as those partnerships remain and Microsoft has the opportunity, I don't see a problem with it, John. The public perception is a different story, but most people don't even realize that their Droid smartphones run Android, which is a Google operating system. So I'm not sure that public perception should weigh the most. I think technical details usually win.
Yes, the truth wins, right? Facts win.
Sometimes.
Not necessarily.
No.
People still buy Apple computers.
Truth and facts win because they are the truth and they're facts. But the actual winner of the whole thing is actually usually caused by public perception, right? If Google, right now, with Google's name attached to Chromebooks, if something were to happen to Google, people would be burning Chromebooks, right? So it's the perception thing. So, but James, what are your thoughts? And by the way, I appreciate your quick rendering of a compromise there with the 9 squares with a little search engine, search icon over it. But the same questions, just in regard to what people's perceptions are. What is the truth in that perspective?
I'm going to need you to repeat that incredibly long question, just FYI.
Well, you're not listening.
I remember it being long, and that's all I remember about it.
That's what I do. I do rants, and they're long, and then I pop out with a questions rant. So James.
Yes, John.
So Google is a huge search engine, right? Like that's what they do, and they do it very well. They do it the best. I think it's what a lot of people would say. And here we have Chrome OS, and where is the line between Google and Chrome OS, which is the Chrome browser, which is a Google product, is fully integrated. It is the actual operating system itself. I own one. I use it. I don't really. It doesn't keep me away from it. But when it comes to operating systems, there has to sometimes be a line where there's a monopoly going on. Microsoft's gone to court about Internet Explorer and packaging their operating system with forcing companies to use their product, while also, paying for a product itself. So, is Chrome OS and Chromebooks, are they a Google product, or are they more just like this fully open source OS? And also, what is the public perception of that line, and what is really the truth?
Well, that's a lot of questions. It sounds like you're asking, are Chromebooks, is Google trying to monopolize things with the Chromebook? And I would say that a Chromebook isn't any more of a monopoly than a Windows machine is. Like Craig pointed out, you can change various things, change your search engine, just like you can on a Windows machine. You buy a Windows PC, sure, Internet Explorer is the default search engine, or browser, with Bing being the default search engine, but you can change that to Google or DuckDuckGo or Yahoo, whatever. On a Chromebook, you can do the same thing. So, I mean, it's not surprising that, if you buy a Microsoft computer, that you're going to have a Microsoft search engine, and if you buy a Google computer, you're going to have a Google search engine. I just appreciate the fact that I can change it if I wanted to. If for some stupid reason I wanted to use Bing or Yahoo as my search engine, I could do that. And Google has been very good, I think, about keeping things open. For instance, there are Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint apps in the Chrome Web Store. Google has done nothing to try to stop Microsoft from providing those kind of apps. And so I'm not really sure what the rest of your question was, but that's how I feel, at least when it comes to Google monopolizing the market.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think that it's just a question out there as to, and I think both of you made really good points about the fact that there are no limitations that Google has put on anyone, right? The only limitations at this time sometimes are about the feature sets that are just simply available, but whenever possible, they have given you your opportunity of choice, right? Some APIs yet aren't necessarily available yet. For instance, like connecting to SkyDrive or OneDrive or whatever. Did you guys see MSN is really back now? I could not believe it. I almost pooped myself. I was like, MSN, shut up! What? Is this 2002 up in here?
Something angered the beast.
So it's just so funny because it just sounds like they're floundering, looking for something. They're looking for who they are all over.
I think the new CEO lost a bet. And has to bring back MSN as a result.
I think they're looking for brands they haven't burnt.
And I hear that they're still thinking about renaming IE to something else.
Yeah, Spartan was the code name, and now they're thinking about keeping it. Yeah.
That's a bad idea.
Well, that's a different discussion.
Spartan, Trojan.
Well, I still think give it a Chromium base, and we'll call it good.
Right. Word. I'm with you there. So anyway, so where was I? The MSN thing really does throw me. I could not believe it when I saw it. It was today, and I Googled something and it had to do with Microsoft, so then it sent me to Microsoft. And I was like, that's crazy. My point was that you couldn't connect to SkyDrive. Right now you can't connect to those. So like this SFTP thing is cool because who owns an FTP server for storage? No one, right? That's not really the point of it. It's the point of like someone like James or Craig where they're updating a website and they need to reach their server and they need to FTP something, or they need to share something over FTP with somebody else. But the API is still missing for like the Dropbox and the OneDrive and things like that. So it's not fully integratable yet with another 100% cloud-based service. Like there's no.
Well, the APIs are there as of today. no one has chosen to use them yet. That's the issue.
Okay.
So
They weren't available a month and a half ago, were they?
they were available when Milestone 40 was released, which has been a few weeks.
Okay.
But they've been in testing for more than 12 weeks. So
well, are we talking about the API that FTP app uses?
Yes, it's the same API.
So clearly it's out there.
It's out there, it's available, and it's been in the release cycle for a long time. Now it's possible that Dropbox and OneDrive were just waiting to see if their competitors would respond first. That happens a lot. But they've had plenty of time. They may still be in development. They may be doing focus testing, things like that. Or they may just decide, we'll get to it at some point in the future. But the tools are there.
I'm with you. Because I just see it as, I do see like the Googliness of it all over everything. I love Google. I Google everything. I think for me it's the fastest, the best search engine out there. I think that their profits are wonderful because they're all made, by just advertising and making some killer products, right? So, and some killer services available to us. So I love their business model. I think that it's awesome. I love the company. I just worry about something like another operating system like that and having such a what appears to be, and it's a perception thing, and I understand it. And I know where you guys are coming from, and I know where other people are coming from. And they're like, when they say things, and those other people, by the way, are like, the open source crowd, and they're like, what? That thing's covered with Google. Google dirty, right? Because Google's out there to make money, and I have nothing wrong with people making money, but I do have a problem with possibly like locking stuff like that down too much and having a perception of that and being able to tell people about it. So I just wanted to have that conversation on this last episode of Practical Chrome, right? So we got practical all about it.
Yeah, when I think about back when that whole Microsoft monopolizing thing was popular to talk about, if I remember correctly, nobody really cared that every computer they bought came with, Internet Explorer or whatever. It was the businesses that Microsoft was competing with and basically putting out of business via less than ethical ways, according to the news anyways, those are the people that got upset and sued Microsoft and took them to court. The average user didn't care. They went to the store, they bought a computer, they had a thing they could click on to search for things and go to websites, and that's all that really mattered to 99% of the population. But the people who were in the market or in the industry and trying to make money, obviously they cared because Microsoft was kind of strong-arming everybody out, and so and now not much has changed a whole lot. You buy a Windows computer, it's still all Microsoft Windows, it's still Internet Explorer. So for the average user, a whole lot didn't change between then and now, and I don't think the vast majority of people are going to care when they buy a Chromebook that it doesn't have Internet Explorer. That the Chromebook comes with Chrome. I don't think most people are going to care as long as they can, search the web. I think most people are smart enough to know that if they buy a Chromebook, there's a fairly good chance that it's going to have the Chrome browser on it. And if they don't like the Chrome browser, they're hopefully smart enough to not buy a Chromebook. So I think the situations are very different. I don't think Google is out there putting other businesses out of business or at least strong-arming their way into things. I think they just made a product because they thought people might want a Chrome-based laptop, and clearly people do.
Because they're friggin' awesome. I love my Chromebook. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Well, guys, this is the last episode of Practical Chrome. Next week we're coming back with Chromebooks Today, which is a show mainly wrapped around Chrome OS and Chromebooks, and is hosted by the three of us again. We'll come back like the three amigos, Hi! Right? I loved that movie when I was a kid. So, come on, Craig, you can beat Chevy Chase.
You're an adult now, John.
That may have been the worst thing I've ever been called.
Chevy Chase?
I love
Surely I've
Chevy
called you
Chase. He was on Community. I love him.
Oh, God. I'm Steve Martin, so that makes you Martin Short, James.
Yes.
I win.
You. So anyway, so coming up next week, Chromebooks.today. Be sure to check it out. Go to the website Chromebooks.today, and that's where you're going to catch us after this last episode of Practical Chrome. We're going to go a little dormant over here at the Practical Chrome. Very dormant. It'll still be up, but check it out. Craig, I think it's kind of a stupid question to ask you where you're going to be, because you're going to be at Chromebooks.today, right, son?
Well, I haven't committed to anything yet. I'm keeping my options open at this stage. I haven't heard back from NBC about a pilot that they'll probably cancel, so I'm keeping options.
Okay, so Craig's not really married to the idea. James, what about you?
Well, luckily for you, I have literally nothing else to do on Tuesday nights, so I'll probably be there.
Oh, man, if that's not like a give me the warm and fuzzies, that's just, that's awesome, you know. If I didn't have something to do. Well, everyone, listen, thanks again for watching Practical Chrome. Thanks for watching over the past year and a couple months watching Practical Chrome. We will definitely catch you at Chromebooks.today, and we'll see you then. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.